Stop messing around, stop fooling around, stop delaying, stop procrastinating. Get up, get out, get it done. Everything is possible, nothing is a problem, and anything can be overcome. I just get my ass up out of bed, I get my shit together, and I get out and I start the fight. And that will transform you from a mere mortal into a superhuman being. I've never, ever, ever met anybody who told me that they got rich watching their IRA or their 401k. The nice thing about Clubhouse is that it's one at a time.
Yeah.
You can't have, I don't know if you can have, but I never hear a chorus of peanut gallery going at once. It's always just like one person speaking at a time. And I love the etiquette about it. This is Peter Siegel, and I'm done. Thank you. Like, it's so great that there's this culture of how to use Clubhouse correctly.
It's funny how, like, early on in social media, like you said, there's this etiquette. There's like this nice utopian version of the app.
Yeah, in the first inning.
Yeah, before it goes bad. I remember I was part of this thing called the List app, where it was just lists. People just made lists, and it was a beautiful thing. It was just having fun, and then eventually went political, and it just got ugly.
Yeah, this is Peter. Thank you. And I'm all done. Thank you.
So you're witnessing that in Clubhouse right now?
I listened to Clubhouse this morning for a little while. I went for a walk on the boardwalk here at the shore, and I put on Breakfast with Millionaires or something like that. I forget what the room is called, but all these people were there, and they were talking about motivational shit that I enjoy to listen to.
Totally.
But it was great. There was this one guy that chimes in, and he crushed it, and I just started cracking up. He's like, "Hi, this is Marcellus." I don't even know if I'm doing it right. Yeah. "Hi, this is Marcellus. And I just want to tell everybody out there that you're all doing so great, and keep on keeping on. And you have to imagine it first." They were talking about manifestation. You have to imagine it first, and then it becomes reality. And I thought, like, for sure this guy's in bed jerking off while he's on Clubhouse, because his voice is big, boomy, a lot of bass, super clear, and I'm listening to him. He's like, "And, just remember, your dreams and your goals are always achievable if I'm grilling some steak right now. I'm seasoning up some steak, and it's just going to taste so delicious in my mouth. But just remember to hold on to your goals and your dreams, and then one day it will all become a reality. And I'll tell you what, I'm about to put on this silk shirt, and it's going to feel so good on my body." This guy was absolutely amazing.
That's awesome.
His name was Marcellus. He's a professional voiceover actor.
Yeah.
But he's on Clubhouse, and when he chimes in, everybody else has like the same like iPhone or Android mic or some like AirPod mic or some microphone to pick up their voice, and everybody sounds the same. This guy was like, he was like in a studio with a Neumann in front of him with all sorts of like vintage compressors and tube preamps.
It's a good voice for manifestation. I think if I was going to try and convince people of manifestation, then it would be, I'd try and use that voice.
I mean, there was no ambient noise. There was no other sounds coming in, hitting his mic. He must have been in some padded room with acoustic tiles, egg crates, thick walls, insulation. It was perfect. Your homework tonight, George. Go and look for Marcellus, the voiceover guy, or the voice man, or whatever his name is.
I'm absolutely going to do that.
Yo, do y'all remember those long, extended answering machine messages that we used to have back in the day? The ones that would go on and on and on. Mine was like,
"You have reached the voicemail of Marcellus, Bassman Shepard. I'm not available to take your call right now. Leave a message at the tone." "And I will be sure to return your call at my earliest convenience." Thank you for calling, and have a great day.
That's how we should end all our shows. We should just get Marcellus. We should contact him, have him do our intros and outros.
Yeah, I hope he sees this. Actually, when we put it up, we'll tag him or something.
Yeah.
I'd love to be connected to that guy.
Yeah.
He was the best thing on that Clubhouse room this morning.
That's amazing.
By far. There was like all these other kids chiming in. Hi, my name's Jill, and my journey is really like, it's so interesting because when I was in school,
Well, they're figuring it out.
Yeah. Well, they should figure it out. But they just shouldn't be given the floor.
I get that.
Well, the moderator should just shut that shit down quickly, except for Marcellus.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marcellus.
I usually ask you what the best part of your day was, but clearly it was Marcellus.
So far, this was a great. I was just walking along the boardwalk, and he had me in tears.
Cool. So to get into it, rent roll comes up all the time. What's the deal with rent roll? Why is it important? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, rent roll's everything. In our business, leases drive the revenue. They're the contracts that produce revenue. Any rent that's in a lease gets populated to a rent roll. We track rent roll with the name, the apartment number, the move in, the move out, and the monthly rent, security deposit. Anybody looking at a building wants to see a rent roll. A bank, an insurance company, property managers, we look at rent rolls all day long. I want to see what the rent roll is this quarter versus last quarter. I want to see growth. I want to see rent growth. We had a few move-outs. I want to see the new increased rent incorporated into a rent roll. I have to deliver rent rolls to my banks quarterly and then once at the end of the year for an annual. I have to deliver rent rolls to my staff and team, and we review them all the time. It's the key thing that drives our analysis of a building. The higher the rent roll, the more the building is likely worth. And you can also compare the rents in your building to comparable apartments if you have access to those rent rolls and see where yours stacks up. I just generally know the rents in my market. So when I look at a rent roll, if someone wants to sell me a building and I'm looking at the rent roll of that building, I can see quickly if anything is below market, at market, or above market. I can see if there's anything weird going on. If it's a seasoned professional operator, all of the rents for each unit type will be pretty uniform. If it's a not very seasoned or not very professional operator, the rents will be all over the place. You'll see one-bedroom rents with a big varying degree of rents. When I get my monthly reporting, I get the monthly P&L, the quarterly P&L, and then I get the monthly rent roll. So I can look and see quickly if the rents on the rent roll match the rents that are collected on the profit and loss statement. And if there's any difference, it's likely that there's some collections issues. Maybe someone didn't pay, maybe someone paid early last month, and so their rent didn't hit on the report for this month, stuff like that. And we talk through it. Once a month, my team meets and we talk about these types of things. Rent rolls are central to those discussions. So the first question out of your mouth, whether you're looking to buy a property, whether you're looking to get a loan on a property, or whether you're managing a property, the first thing you should be looking at is a rent roll, and the first questions you should be asking should be rent roll centric, for sure.
How important is marketing in multifamily as it compares to other sectors of real estate?
Very important. If you're in business, marketing's important. There's no two ways about it. You better be good at marketing, and you better be sharp and up on ways to market your product or your service. I don't care what business you're in, whether it's multifamily or other parts of the real estate industry, or if you're selling shoelaces.
Yeah.
The world has to know about your product, and you're not going to sell anything unless you can market it properly. And there's all sorts of ways that are really effective to market your product or service now. With the internet, you can reach all sorts of new platforms and all sorts of new audiences. Here in this office, George, we market our apartments in all sorts of different ways, from online strategies. We're on all the major apartment rental websites. We have good Google search SEO. We've got a series of print ads that we run in some of the local print publications that are weekly, so we'll participate in that. So the ads that we run and for print are typically full color, they're full page, and it's more about solidifying our presence in the community than it is about the metrics of how much traffic gets driven. I usually am only focused on how many customers will get driven our way from a piece of marketing spend that we do. But in this case, in this market, with these examples, I spend money on print media, even though I don't rent a whole lot of apartments from it. I want to be the category killer. So in addition to the online marketing and the print marketing, I have a great program with swag and items. I have printed towels, hats, t-shirts, keychains, beach bags. When someone moves into our units, we've talked about this before, we do it as a giveaway to them, like a, hey, welcome to our community, and it's a gift, and we hand them a beach tote bag with all this stuff in it. But it's all branded, and it's all good stuff that people use, and we'll see people wearing our hats and t-shirts walking around town, and we'll see people online doing selfies and tagging us because they're wearing it, and then we do something special in return or whatever. But that's part of the marketing, right? You have to have an all-encompassing 360-degree marketing plan. I want to be everywhere with my marketing, and I don't have to spend a lot of money, but I have to do it intelligently, and it all has to tie together and connect. If you're not marketing a product, the world's not going to know about you. Today is the 120th birthday of my grandfather, Hyman Levy. He's not here anymore. He hasn't been for 17 years. He lived to 103.
Wow.
He was an advertising guy. He was a great advertiser. He was a great marketer. And he would say to me, Peter, if you're going to get into business, how are people going to know about you? How are people going to know about your product? And I'd look at him and say, I don't know. What? Huh? He was right. People have to know about you. If they don't know about you, they can't interact with you, and they're certainly not going to buy from you.
What are common capital expenditures that you make, and how do you know whether or not it's going to be a capital expenditure or a repair?
Good question. So, difference between a capital expenditure and a repair is that a capital expenditure is a one-time, non-recurring major spend, typically on the replacement or a new installation of something that didn't exist before, and a repair is a repair. So appliances, I'll repair them until they completely die, and then I have to replace them. So the repair is booked as a repair on the P&L, and the replacement can either be booked as a repair or a capital expense. It depends on how you run your books. Me, when I replace an appliance, I book it to capital expenditure because it's a one-time outlay of money, and then after that, it's repair until it dies. And with certain types of loans and with certain types of lenders, you might find yourself paying into a monthly escrow repair and reserves fund every month so that there's money there so that when you have to replace appliances, you can look to that fund to reimburse you for your outlay of cash. You can't do that for a repair, but if I replace a roof or if I replace sidewalks or if I replace doors, anything that's new or replacement, my repair and reserves fund with my lender will usually step in and perform and pay me back or reimburse me for the outlay. Just got to track it and manage it because your lenders are going to require different things. Your insurance company is going to require different things. If you need permits, if you need approvals, all of that stuff has to dovetail because you've got nowadays everybody looking at your building and looking at your property. The insurance company calls it a risk. Mm-hmm. They're looking at your risk and they're trying to assess whether they want to stay in business with you or not. If you're not pulling permits and if you're not getting the right approvals and just making the repair, making the replacement without really running it up the flagpole, you could find that you have some problems. I always am doing budgeting for and implementation of capital expenditures. I'm in the value add business. All of these buildings that I own and manage are of a vintage and had deferred maintenance for a long enough time that they required a lot of capital expenditures. So when I go in and buy a building, immediately I think replace the sidewalks because over time these sidewalks lift, they crack, they separate, weeds grow up from underneath. Everything's a trip and fall hazard. So item number one, replace the sidewalks, curbs, parking lot, replace the roof. Typically, if I buy these buildings, the roofs are like already 20 or 30 or more years old. So they're done. These shingle roofs have a life of like 20, 25 years. I'm always replacing windows and I'm renovating apartments. So the apartment renovation, capital expenditure. But going into an existing apartment and repairing something on an occupied apartment, repair. It's not too difficult a distinction, but you just have to book it and manage it correctly. I'm always doing roofs. I'm always doing exteriors. I'm always doing hallways. I want to make the hallways great. You have to walk through the hallway. You have to walk in the entryway and through a lobby to get to your apartment. People say, oh, well, when you do a hallway replacement or beautification, it doesn't really impact me because I don't live in the hallway. But yeah, you do. You have to walk from the parking lot up to the approach of the building, into the building, through the hallways to your apartment. You occupy and consume every part of the building. We want to make it great for you. So I'm always doing hallway repairs. I love putting in laundry facilities And so that's a nice capital expenditure, and you get revenue out of that stuff. Look, when you put on a new roof, you don't really get revenue from it. Laundry facilities, additional revenue. Security features, you can get additional revenue from that. Life safety systems, you can't really get additional revenue, but I tell you what, it's certainly a great box to check when you're trying to market and sell your product, to say, look, everything's modern, everything's new. There's life safety today where there wasn't yesterday in this old building that we got a hold of and renovated. So a lot of capital expenditure projects will yield revenue right off the bat. Many won't. You know, when we landscape, it's such an important thing to do, and it adds so much value. It's curb appeal. It's a way easier sell to the marketplace if your building just looks good from the outside. I know from day one that not only we're renovating the interior of the apartments, but we're going to do the hallways, we're going to do the roof, we're going to do the exterior landscaping, we're going to bring in a mason to shore up the brick and repoint all of the brick. We're going to put drainage in the ground so that the runoff that hits the roof doesn't just spit out into the parking lots and then turn into a sheet of ice in the wintertime at night. So we're going to put the drainage into the ground and out to the storm sewer. I mean, simple things. It just costs money and you have to do it. And these older buildings, they didn't really have any of this stuff. So once the building gets occupied and people are living in your apartments, it's repair until you have to replace, and then look, book it as you want. I book replacements as a CAPEX.
What are 3 to 5 ways to build trust?
Why do you ask me for 3 to 5? Why don't you just ask me for 3 or 5 or 4?
I like to give you the option.
What's the question again?
3 to 5 ways to build trust.
I'll tell you what doesn't build trust is when you ask me for 3 to 5 things to build trust.
All right, I'll make a note of that.
It's so standard sounding. 3 to 5. Why not 7 to 9?
Right, yeah.
Why not 1 to 5? If I just give you one good one, would that be satisfactory?
That's fine for me, but I mean, I want to give you the options.
Here's how you build trust. For me, it's about comfort and ease, eye contact, be open and honest, be a little vulnerable, admit something. When you're speaking all the time, people that are always telling you how it is, they're always explaining, they're always telling you, they're always laying it on you like they're the last word on the topic. It's hard for me to build trust with that person. I want to hear a little bit of vulnerability. I want to hear a little bit of honesty, and talk to me like a normal person. Talk to me like you talk to a family member or a friend. People get very stiff and they have an inability often to just relax and speak like a normal person. And when you're not speaking like a normal person, I can't trust you. Here's an easy one. Do what you say and say what you do. So much of us in the world today can't even do that, and it's crazy. Do what you say what you do. It's a simple concept. It's been around forever, but whatever comes out of your mouth, make sure you do that and communicate it and perform and execute. And I don't know. It's so many people are full of shit and they can't seem to tie those two concepts together. Young people have a tough time with this, I find. Now I probably sound like the old guy saying young people don't.
No, I think that's true, though. I think a lot of times people say what they want to do, but don't necessarily want to actually follow through.
It's a good idea. It sounds good. Yeah.
I'd
like to do this.
So I think over years, you start to recognize the pragmatism of what you're claiming you're going to do. And I think a lot of times younger people, and I'll include myself in this, will often, try and they think they're manifesting when they're actually just bullshitting.
George, have you ever been in a position where you had to make someone else feel comfortable for whatever reason?
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course, right? We all have.
Yeah.
That's how you build trust. Make me feel comfortable. Talk to me like I'm a human being. Talk to me like I'm important to you.
Yeah.
Fake it if you have to, but don't let me know that you're faking it.
Right.
But communicate in such a way and deal with me in such a way that's open and honest, and that's how you build trust. That's one of the ways, at least. That's how I try and do it. And it's such a rare commodity these days.
Yeah, well, and what I hear you saying is it takes time, too. It's not an overnight process to build that kind of
my brother and I were speaking this morning on the same walk when I was listening to Marcellus, the voice. My brother and I were speaking this morning about our father and grandfather. They were successful in their community. They built the trust within their community. They knew everybody within their community. Successful people are all over the place. They have relationships across the world, across the country, and they know significant players in all the different markets, and they got a guy for this and a person for this and a different person for everything, and they're very well connected. A lot of resources are available to them. And relationships are key. We always talk about how key relationships are. The really successful people are really good at building trust and building relationships. So if you can be honest and credible and look someone in the eye and make them feel important, it's a rare thing. And those that can do it have the most success and build the most trust.
Yeah, beautiful. All right, and I'll stop with the 3 to 5 questions.
3 to 5. You can do it 3 to 5 more times, and then I'd like for you to stop.
Absolutely. Well, ideally, I would have Marcellus do these Zest Quests, but in lieu of Marcellus,
we get Marcellus on we got to get him on just to join us. Maybe we can do a
call in,
side-by-side Zoom thing or something.
But in lieu of that, for now, my first Zest Quest is: what celebrity death hit you hardest?
Prince.
Wow. Yeah.
Prince was born on June 7th. Mm-hmm. Someone else on camera right now was also born on June 7th. So I was a fan of his from a really young age. And when he died, the first phone call I got within the hour after the news came out was from my buddy Steve Conte. We used to sit around and listen to Prince music and try and write songs that were inspired by and perhaps sound a little bit like Prince songs. Yeah. And I mean, everybody I know loves Prince. And I
know you're both telly guys.
Me and Prince are, Steve Conte's a telly guy too. Yeah. I mean, he's an everything guy. He's the best musician on the planet, the most underrated guy. Steve's an incredible musician. Look him up, Steve Conte, Conte. He's been in a lot of bands. He's a great band leader, great songwriter, singer, musician, guitar player. His chops are great.
Yeah, Prince was such a surprise, I think, for so many people because a lot of people didn't know, there was anything wrong.
That was a surprise.
It's such a shock.
I knew Clarence Clemens was not well. Didn't make it any easier when he passed away, but just being a huge fan of Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, and Clarence is such an iconic figure for me. Thurman Munson. Oddly enough, I'm a huge Yankees fan. I grew up a big Yankees fan when I was a young kid, and that 78, 79 Yankees team was just so amazing to watch, and I remember all of it to this day. And Thurman Munson was the catcher. So the odd thing about Thurman Munson was that when he passed away, it was a bummer, and it impacted me as a kid because I was a fan. He was a sports star. I was a fan of his as a kid. Also born June 7th.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Me, Prince, Thurman Munson.
That's wild.
And Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah. Well, is Queen Elizabeth also June 7th?
June 7th.
Oh, wow. What a confluence of personality.
Yeah, but oddly enough, Thurman and Prince were like my...
yeah. That's so interesting.
And then I realized later on in life that, wait, we all have the same birthday, so that's weird.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Do you feel like there's overlap in personality with you and Prince and Thurman
because
Munson?
I spent a lot of time with Prince and Thurman Munson, I know their personalities enough to know that there's lots of overlap.
Yeah, fair.
I met Prince once.
Yeah. Did you?
Yeah, at a hotel in New York.
How have we not talked about this until now?
I met Prince once. He came. Well, there's a hotel for a while. There was they probably still stay there, but there's a hotel in New York City. I won't say which one, but I lived pretty close to it and would constantly go there to the restaurant and the bar. And elevator's door open up, and this guy comes hopping out of the elevator. He's got a cane, afro. He's short, gold sequin top, floppy bell-bottom pants, and man, my heart hit the ground. I was like, oh. And I was with some people that knew him, and there was handshakes, and I got to shake his hand, and he didn't care about meeting me, but I got to meet him. I cared about that.
Wow, that's really special.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It was just a brush with superstardom, and that one floored me. I've met a lot of high-profile people and never really gave a shit. That one,
I feel like Prince is one of those that when he died, a lot of stories came out about the people's different interactions with him, and that was the one where most other celebrities were very, very intimidated by him, and I think very few people who even were familiar with stardom weren't affected by his presence.
You know what my favorite thing that Eric Clapton ever said was?
No, what's that?
He was getting interviewed, and the interviewer said to him, "Eric, how does it feel to be the greatest guitar player that ever lived?" Eric Clapton says, "I don't know, ask Prince." And it's true.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's true.
Yeah. Guitar Gently Weeps is the, that was the one that was going around a lot around that time, his performance of George Harrison's tune.
I've watched that so many times. I have a question for everybody out there. This is the Why My Guitar Gently Weeps guitar solo with Prince playing with Tom Petty and Jeff Lynne,
Eric Clapton, they were all there.
No, Clapton wasn't there.
I think well, I'll have to go back and check. I'm not sure.
It was
I know Jeff Lynne was there.
Jeff Lynne and it was George Harrison's kid.
Danny.
And I think it was like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or the something induction. There was some induction ceremony. You've all seen it. Here's my question to you. At the end of the solo, Prince catapults the guitar up in the air in the middle of the stage. Where does the guitar go? Because it goes straight up. There's no techs or roadies anywhere around to catch it. You would have seen it because the camera's a wide angle enough shot that you could see who would be there to catch it. The guitar never comes down. It doesn't go into the audience. It doesn't go behind him into the drum riser and take out Steve Ferrone. So where does the guitar go? If someone can make a comment below and tell me where Prince's guitar goes when he throws it up at the end of that solo, I will do something for you. I don't know what I'll do, but I'm dying to know how that guitar went.
Yeah. No,
it's crazy.
I want to know too. That's a crazy thing. And last question for today. What is the most beautiful place you've ever been?
Several. I love mountain settings, so there's a few. Any place in the Rockies, the Midwest Rocky Mountains in the United States, up on top of like a tall peak looking out. There's a few peaks that I've been on, but I love that view. I love the same thing in Switzerland. Those mountains and lakes there are incredibly beautiful. Bali's incredible in Indonesia, not only at the coast where the beaches are, because that's really nice, great surf breaks there, but up in the mountains where the rice fields are. It's so lush. It's incredible. You got to check that out. For me, George, my home.
Yeah.
I think my home's one of the most beautiful places for me. And the Jersey Shore. I think the Jersey Shore is uniquely beautiful and special. It wouldn't stack up in the same way to a great picturesque mountain setting or a great exotic beach setting somewhere. But the Jersey Shore is the beach, and it's special, and it's beautiful, and there's a certain thing that happens here.
Yeah. Now, I have to admit, I grew up here, so it's not, it's a biased opinion, but I've been in a lot of oceans, and there's something special about the Jersey Shore, Atlantic Ocean.
There is. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Cool. Well, thanks so much, Peter.
Was that enough? Should I give you 3 to 5 more things?
No, I think that's, as far as beautiful places, those are all great. Yeah, I appreciate it.
And anywhere where Allie is generally very beautiful.
I agree. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
All right. So for next time, try and get Marcellus.
I cherish you and what we are together.
And until then, thanks, Peter. Have a great week.
Thanks, George.
If you like what you just heard, you can subscribe to The Daily Cash Flow on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. And we'd love it if you left us a review. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook at SiegelCap and on Instagram at Siegel.cap. As always, if you're an accredited investor, go to SiegelCapital.com and take our survey to see if you qualify to take part in one of our apartment building deals. That's SIEGEL Capital.com.